Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will bring this regular meeting of the Sebastian City Council to order. If you would all rise for the invocation that tonight will be delivered by Father Dave Newhart from St. Elizabeth Episcopal Church, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance that will be led by Vice Mayor Kinchin.
Good evening. Let us pray. Most gracious and Heavenly Father, we come before you with needs for wisdom, with patience, with grace. And Lord, we just thank you for these citizens. We thank you for our council members. We thank you for those that work for our city and in our city. Lord, we ask that as this meeting comes to full fruition, Lord, we ask that words would be spoken that would be words of grace. And Lord, we ask that you would just give everyone wisdom, discernment, and peace of mind as we go forward. We thank you for this great city of Sebastian. We thank you for the residents. We thank you for all that's available for us here. And we thank you for your protection. So we bring these prayers to you, knowing that you hear and answer them. In our precious and holy name, amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. It's nice to see such a great crowd of citizens out here. If you could do me a big favor, do us all a big favor, and make sure your phones are on vibrate or silent. We would very much appreciate that. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hill.
Here.
Vice Mayor Kitchen. Here. Councilmember Dodd.
Here.
Councilmember Iovino.
Here.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Here.
Thank you.
Council, that leads us up to agenda modifications. I had a conversation with the city manager a little bit earlier, and I know he's probably talked with all of you. There's an item that he tried to get taken care of prior to the meeting relative to the working waterfront shoreline protection. If it's okay with council, I'd like to go ahead and have that added to item 9H under the consent agenda. Any objections?
No.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any other modifications or requests?
I'd like to table 11A and B.
You want to table it?
You want to table those now without discussion? At the very least, I'd like to have further discussion on it before we actually vote
All right,
on it.
I think Councilmember Iovino had stated that he wishes to table item 11A. We'll go ahead and take that one first. We have received correspondence from the city attorney relative to the request. However, his request also came with a request for direction.
Yes.
So I'm not sure that it would be appropriate to table it at this time without having discussion on it, because he's requesting direction on the direction that this council would like to go forward with.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then the next is the fire prevention and protection issue. Mr. Iovino?
In lieu of a new fire marshal being promoted by the county, I think that we need to maybe look into this a little bit further before we move forward with this. They promoted, I believe, Dave Johnson, who's a tenured and seasoned firefighter, to be the new fire marshal for the county. So I think that's going to maybe change things a bit. At the very least, I think it leaves it open for more discussion.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Well, I think we should go down to that. Instead of tabling the item, let's go down and discuss it. And we can either, if it turns out that it's an appropriate thing to do, we can decline it during the discussion, as opposed, if we table it, we've got to deal with it in the future.
Sure.
So it sounds like we either should say yay or nay to it based on the conversation that takes place.
Okay. And modifications to the agenda require unanimous vote. So we'll go ahead and leave that on the agenda. That's acceptable. All right. Thank you so much. Any others?
Well, I
got me
have
all
some
messed up.
consent items, but I can wait until we get to that part
Yeah,
if you like.
very good. I appreciate that. There's a lot of echo in here, and I don't know if it's because there's a lot of people or that we're really loud, but thank you for that. Can you hear me now? Well, we're going to do our best to make it so that you can hear us clearly, so that all the discussion that we have between all of us is very clear and understood. That leads us to proclamations, awards, and brief announcements. I have a couple of proclamations this evening. The first will be to the March for Meals campaign. Is Ms. Deagle here? Hi, we are?
I am Shauna Callahan, Director of Programs.
Virginia Scove, Nutrition Manager.
All right, thank you guys for being here tonight. This is a proclamation for March for Meals campaign 2018. Whereas Meals on Wheels America established the National March for Meals campaign in March of 2002 to raise awareness about the escalating problems of senior hunger in America. And whereas this observance of the March for Meals campaign provides an opportunity to support Meals on Wheels programs that deliver vital and critical services by donating, volunteering, and raising awareness about senior hunger and isolation. And whereas volunteer drivers deliver nutritious meals to homebound seniors and individuals with disabilities, along with caring concern and attention to their welfare, to help them maintain their health and independence and avoid unnecessary hospitalizations and or premature institutionalizations, and to provide powerful socialization opportunities. All of those izations in here. Whereas the Meals on Wheels program in Florida deserves recognition for the contributions they have made and will continue to make to local communities, our state, and our nation. Therefore, I, Jim Hill, Mayor of the City of Sebastian, do hereby proclaim March 2018 as Meals for Wheels Month in the City of Sebastian, and urge every citizen to honor our Meals on Wheels program, the seniors they serve, and the volunteers who care for them.
Actually, this would be over here. All right, thank you. During the month of March, we joined thousands of Meals on Wheels programs across America, raising awareness about senior hunger and isolation. So, whether you like it or not, we are all aging. It's just a fact. Two key factors that influence our health and the aging process are nourishment and socialization. Senior hunger and isolation are serious problems in our community. Food insecurity affects seniors differently. Even if a person has the money to purchase food, they may not be able to because of lack of mobility, functional limitations, and or health problems. These reasons can prevent older adults from eating properly. A homebound meal program alleviates isolation and hunger. A hot, nutritious meal is delivered by our staff and volunteers to clients 5 days a week, and 2 frozen meals are delivered for the weekends. All meals are planned and evaluated by a registered dietitian to ensure it contains 1/3 of the daily nutritional requirements for a senior. Last year, SRA delivered 65,991 meals to homebound seniors in Indian River counties. But we know that this program is not just about the meal. It's also a daily wellness check. It provides seniors and their families a sense of security, and it saves lives. A visit by a friendly Senior Resource Association volunteer or staff member is often the only socialization these people will experience. Our Meals on Wheels program also includes social congregate meals, which is perfect for mobile seniors who still may be food insecure and want socialization. Last year, we served 34,038 congregate meals in 5 different locations throughout the county, one of which is here in Sebastian. And Emergency Meals on Wheels is a program for seniors who have been discharged from a healthcare facility within the last 30 days. They experience temporary food insecurity because of their recovery. We will bring them a hot, nutritious meal for up to 2 to 4 weeks while they recover. It has a remarkable effect on whether or not they go back into the facility. This program is 100% covered by philanthropic donations. And last year, we delivered 3,713 of these emergency meals to our local community members. And lastly, who could forget the pet Meals on Wheels? As we all know, seniors have pets, and a lot of times this is their only companionship and their socialization. If they're food insecure, their pets are food insecure. We found out the seniors were sharing their meals with their pets, which isn't the point of us feeding the seniors. So we developed a program where we take food and we can do vet services, emergency grooming, and flea control for these pets who are so important to the seniors who are homebound and isolated. Overall, because of our generous volunteers and donors, last year, SRA's Meals on Wheels of Indian River County delivered over 100,000 meals to seniors in this county. Thank you. Thank you. That is an average of 250 meals a day, and this feat could not be accomplished without the dedication, time, and effort of over 100 volunteers on a weekly basis. However, please know there's still much to do. Right now, we still have 134 seniors on the wait list for meals. The cost for one meal is $6.50, or $2,600 for a year. On March 19th through the 21st, SRA is once again hosting Champion for Meals, which is a wonderful opportunity for community leaders and members of our community to experience the gratification of delivering nutritious meals to our homebound neighbors. I know many of you have participated in the past, and we're hopeful you'll want to again if you haven't already signed up. And join us. Visit a few of our clients who do not have the opportunity to get out of their homes and would love to have a visit by a special guest like yourself. Thank you again for the proclamation and for allowing us a few minutes to help raise awareness for the Meals on Wheels program and the nutritional needs of seniors in our community.
Thank you so much. You know, while they're coming up here to get that picture, you wouldn't understand how important the Meals on Wheels program is to our seniors in our community. I have had the opportunity to ride around with them, and I look forward to a couple of weeks from now doing the same. You guys have touched so many lives, and it's incredibly important, so I very much appreciate it. I know our fellow city council members do, and we love to support such wonderful organizations. So thank you so much for everything you guys do.
Thank you. Let's put you in the middle.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right.
Thank you all.
Is Genevieve Presti and Kayla Hirschberger here? How you guys doing today?
Good. How are you?
Hi, James. Nice to see you. How you doing today? This is a proclamation for Kick Butts Day in 2018. Whereas Kick Butts Day is an annual national initiative by the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids that encourages kids across the country to stand up and oppose efforts of the tobacco industry, you heard me then, didn't you? To manipulate them through advertising and marketing. Whereas in Indian River County, 17.7% of all high school students and 4.3% of Indian River middle school students use some form of tobacco in the past 30 days. Whereas the tobacco industry markets a product that kills half their customers by targeting the youth with flavors that appeal to children. And whereas Quit Doc, the Tobacco-Free Partnership of Indian River County, and Students Working Against Tobacco, SWAT, encourages everyone to protest the tobacco industry's effort to target youth as replacements for the customers who are quitting or dying. Now, therefore, I, Jim Hill, Mayor of the City of Sebastian, do hereby proclaim March 21st, 2018 as Kick Butts Day 2018 in the City of Sebastian, Florida, and urge citizens to oppose the marketing of tobacco products to children by the tobacco industry.
Hello, my name is Can you hear me? My name is Kayla Hirschberger, and I'm president of the SRMS SWAT Club. And we always try to support anti-tobacco. It's a huge issue, and more than hundreds of thousands of people who are even non-smokers, surrounded by secondhand smoke, develop health problems each year. And these can be our children, our family, our friends, and it's a huge issue that our whole group stresses, and that's why we come around and we thank you guys for the proclamation, because it's something that affects the people that we know and love, and we want to be able to support it throughout the whole community. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Genevieve Presti, and smoking as a kid, it's just, I don't know, it's just, I don't like the way that the tobacco industry is just target these kids, and it's not okay, and so we're fighting back against that. And it's actually a fact that's proven that 90% of smokers start before the age of 18, which is actually really upsetting. So we're trying to be the generation that ends smoking.
I'm glad I had a small meal for dinner. I could hold that in. All right, Council, that leads us up to brief announcements. Vice Mayor Kinchin will actually be giving those announcements this evening.
Okay, we have 3 brief announcements tonight. This Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, look forward to the Shrimp Fest and Craft Beer Hullabaloo being held for the first time in Riverview Park in Sebastian. Then next Friday is the Chamber Concert with the Sebastian River High School Jazz Ensemble and Steel Drum Band. My husband always said that's the best one in the group. And Saturday, March 24th, is the Sebastian River Art Club show in Riverview Park from 10 to 4.
All right, thank you, Vice Mayor. Are there any other brief announcements by council members? All right, seeing none, that'll move us to item 7. At this time, I'll recess the City Council meeting and reconvene as the Community Redevelopment Agency. Looking for an approval on the minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Item 7C, consider facades, sign, and landscape program grant. Mr. Griffin.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Frazier, our Community Development Director, will make the presentation.
Good evening. Before you is a grant application consistent with our facade, sign, and landscaping program. Adam Pruce Appraisal Services, Inc. is requesting 50% of the cost of his new sign, and staff is recommending approval.
All right, thank you. Council, what's your pleasure?
Second.
All right, motion is second. Thank you. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this grant application? All right, seeing none. Any discussion by council? Roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Kitchen?
Yes?
Mr. Dodd?
Yes.
Mr. Iovino?
Yes.
Mr. McPartlin?
Yes.
Chairman Hill?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. And I will now adjourn the CRA and reconvene as the City Council.
To let you know that I spoke to the city manager about this. On item E and item F, there were some discrepancies in the costs collected by each party, and he is going to take care of that matter, so.
So you would like to leave them in?
We will approve those, yeah. You can just leave them in and.
I'd like to pull item A.
Item A. All right, looking for an agenda, a motion on items B through H.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of item 9B through H.
Second?
I got a motion and a second. A roll call, please.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Iovino?
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Mayor Hill?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kitchen?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Councilmember McDodd, item A.
Okay, on the last page of the minutes, which is page 32 of the agenda packet, in the second paragraph, it said the study indicated 80% of the system would need remedial work within 0 to 4 years. That was 8%, not 80%.
Okay, I'll fix that.
It's a big difference.
Yes, indeed.
So, and with that, I move approval of the minutes as changed.
Second.
All right, thank you. Motion and a second. Anyone from the public wish to discuss item 9A? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Leads us up to committee reports and appointments. We have a Natural Resource Board opening and an applicant for that. Council, what's your pleasure?
I recommend Mr. Hoffman, Van Hoffman.
All right, so we have a consensus for Mr. Hoffman, and congratulations, Mr. Hoffman. You are now on the Natural Resources Board. That is the term, the regular member position term to expire 7/1/2019. If I'm correct, Mr. Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, we're all the way up to public hearings, item 11. Item 11A, it's the second reading of it's the second reading and public hearing of ordinance number O-1801 relating to medical marijuana. Mr. Griffin.
Yes, sir. The city attorney will be reading the ordinance.
Mr. Stokes.
Yeah, sorry, I had to get back to the right page. An ordinance of the City of Sebastian, Indian River County, Florida, relating to medical marijuana treatment centers, rescinding ordinance O-17-01, amending the Land Development Code, Article 22, language and definitions, amending Article 5, zoning district regulations, providing for severability, conflict, codification, and an effective date.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Iovino, you had some questions about this. Would you like to go ahead and discuss?
Yeah, on page 97 of the agenda packet in the attorney's letter, he basically asked for some direction as to whether the city wanted to continue to authorize medical marijuana. He gave two directions that he could follow. One is that he could rework the ordinance to basically ban medical marijuana distribution facilities, or he could modify it to change the code to be a little bit more restrictive from that. I think that we've been pretty clear in the past about authorizing medical marijuana facilities in the Sebastian, and I think we should continue to do that. I'm hoping that the council agrees with that. And maybe the attorney can give us an indication of what types of changes he feels like he needs to make to this ordinance in order to facilitate that direction, assuming that's still the direction of the council.
Well, personally, I would suggest that the will of the people is determined that they wish for medical marijuana to be available to those patients who need it, and I think that council has gone on time and time again in support of that. My concern has always been the state has essentially put on our table an all or nothing mandate, and that all or nothing mandate to me is not an acceptable mandate. There are communities who have allowed for the all, and there are most who have allowed for the nothing. And I think that we can find an in-between. And if I'm not mistaken, the city of Wellington has done something that allows for control by the municipality while still allowing for those patients who are in need of the medical marijuana to have a place to get them. So quite frankly, I would be in favor of moving forward with something similar to what the city of Wellington has done, or the town of Wellington rather, in that it will allow for the will of the people in getting the facilities into our community while still allowing for the control by the municipality. My concern would be that I doubt that any council member up here would relinquish complete control of anything, and I think that that would be sound. So that's the direction I would like to see I would like to table this for the 90 days as requested by the city attorney and go forward and ask him to draft something similar to what the town of Wellington has done in allowing for some control to the municipality.
I don't have any issue with that at all. The tabling is not the issue. I just want to make sure that we direct him to stay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree. We need to stay on track, and this is an ordinance, correcting an ordinance we've already passed, which allows those facilities, so we need to get this moving and finished.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Are we needing, Councilmember Avino?
I don't think we should rush into it either. I understand that we're correcting something that's already been approved, but I think that we need to give the attorney time to fully look into it and our options, as you said. That's why I was requesting to table it earlier, but apparently I didn't say it right, and I apologize for that.
With that being said, I will make a motion to table item 11A and direct the city attorney to draft an ordinance similar to that of the town of Wellington that would fit the needs of the citizens of the city of Sebastian.
I will second that if you make a time certain on that table.
90 days, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Or the council meeting immediately following the 90-day period.
Second.
Anyone from the public wish to speak on this issue? Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, if you could come to the microphone, give us your name and where you live.
Jacqueline Laypost, and I live in Sebastian. I've been here 14 years. My question is would we have as many facilities as we do dollar stores? What kind of a tab are we going to put on this?
All right, thank you, ma'am. And I appreciate that comment, and I think that's one of the reasons that this council wants to have the ability to have some sort of control so that we don't have that situation.
Yeah, it's a little scary.
And we're requesting that the city attorney go forward and draft something that would fit best for the citizens. And I think that's, and your concerns are ours as well, and that's why we're going forward with this.
Thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else?
Could I just want to make sure?
I'm going to take public input first, and then we'll go ahead.
That's fine.
Yes, ma'am. While she's coming up, go ahead, Mr. Stokes.
Just wanted to clarify the existing ordinance that was discussed. When you did first reading of this ordinance, that served to create a stay. So there are no current places, and if anybody applied, they would be told that they couldn't move forward because of the stay. And that's the reason for asking you to table this, because that'll keep that stay in place until we get the proper regulations in place. So just want to make sure the record was clear on that there is no ability now to open any place.
Well, given that, do we want to go 90 days? Should we extend it that far in the future?
I can tell you, I asked for 90 days, not anticipating I'd need that much. We've already started working on some stuff. I think I could bring it sooner. I just didn't want to piece this and ask for 2 weeks and 2 weeks and 2 weeks. So that's why I asked for 90 days. We are moving on it quickly.
So once we get done with public discussion, public input, then we'll figure out whether we want to amend that. Yes, ma'am.
Doris Kilbane, Sebastian. Why does it have to be in a separate facility if it's medical, prescribed by a doctor? Why can't it be purchased at a regular pharmacy?
That's a wonderful question, and that's because the state law, the state law actually will not allow for that. So it has nothing to do with what we're doing. Yes, ma'am. Anyone else from the public wish to have some discussion on this? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Damian Gilliams. Do you have a copy of the Wellington ordinance here with you tonight that the other council members reviewed before you direct your legal department to start?
It's in our agenda.
It's in your agenda?
It is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second thing, Mr. Mayor. There are a lot of people in this community that can sure use it. This has been going on for quite a while, and I understand we have a new attorney on staff now, but it's time that we move this thing along to help. There's a lot of veterans in our community that would like to have access to this instead of going to their pharmacist and getting opioids and narcotics where they get hooked and before you know it, we'll have more crisis in the community, at the hospitals. There's no reason for this to just drag on and drag on and drag on. Either you guys have to coordinate with your staff and coordinate with the state and get this thing done so that the people can have access to this medicine. You're doing us all a disservice. So please, concentrate. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, my job is to run a business meeting. And in that business meeting and in our rules of running that meeting, there will be no applause, there will be no jeers. We will not make people feel like they've done a good job so they can get up here and bloviate. And we will not scare people from getting up here and giving their opinion. That's the reason we have these rules in place. So I would ask that you would apply those rules to your behavior. Thank you. Anyone else wish to discuss this issue? All right, hearing none. Council, I would suggest to you that we are doing exactly what the last speaker has just stated. We are moving forward. We're one of very few municipalities in the area, in fact, the only municipality or government entity that's considering allowing for the dispensaries of medical marijuana to be in their city limits. It's our job, and it's incumbent upon us to make sure we do it right. And I think we're doing that, and we've moved forward from the beginning in support of the vote of the people. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Yes.
Mayor Hill.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kitchen.
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd.
Yes.
Councilmember Iovino.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. Leads us up to item 11B, which would be the second reading and public hearing of ordinance number O-18-02, fire prevention and protection. Mr. Griffin.
Yes, sir. The city attorney will read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Sebastian, Florida, amending, revising, and updating Chapter 42 of the Code of Ordinances relating to fire prevention and protection, providing for severability, conflicts, and effective date.
Yes, sir. The staff is behind this ordinance. We have modified it with instructions from council that if the ordinance is passed, that the city manager will be the person responsible for designating the fire marshal in the city. Number two, we have withdrawn from the ordinance the provision that we would be doing the inspections for special events, and we will be leaving that to the county, and we are recommending approval.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on item 11B, the fire prevention and protection? Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
How are you?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members. I'm Jason Brown, County Administrator. Have with me Dylan Reingold, County Attorney. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and your consideration. Also, thank you for the change that was made to the ordinance from the first reading. We appreciate that. The county does have some legal concerns about the ordinance. I'm not going to address that. I'll let Dylan handle that if we need to. Kind of what I'd like to do is appeal for potentially tabling this item to discuss and work together between the county and the city. I'd like to start out with just a little bit of a history on the fire district. Around about 1984, the voters approved by voter referendum to establish the Emergency Services District. It provides fire protection services and advanced life support, as well as the fire marshal services for all of the county, all of the municipalities, with the exception of the town of Indian River Shores, which has its own public safety department. Prior to that time, there was kind of a mismatch of the services that were provided. City of Vero had a professional fire department with a couple of fire stations, and the rest of the county was essentially covered by 3 different fire districts: a North County district, a South County district, and a West County district. Vastly different levels of service, a mix of professional and volunteer firefighters. When we established that and the voters approved the Emergency Services District to cover the whole county with the exception of the shores, what we did was unified the entire district. And we have one level of service. We equalize the level of service throughout the urban service area. We added the professional firefighting in the outer parts of the county, whether it's Fellsmere, South County, City of Sebastian. We upped that level of service to where we have professional fighters across the county. Also, we took in the advanced life support from the hospital in the early 90s, so we have a nice, good level of service, and it's all unified. We're kind of all in this together, and I think it's important to hold all of this together. The analogy I'll use is where everybody goes out to dinner and we're going to have pizza and we're sharing the bill, and what this is kind of like, well, I didn't have any breadsticks, so I'm not going to pay my share of the breadsticks is kind of the analogy there. And I think it's important to have that unification of the fire marshal and the review of the buildings and insurance that we are compliant with the fire codes and the building codes, along with the fire protection service. So I'd like to say that. Also, in order to address, I understand the city's concerns. I think you have valid points, and I think the county has valid points. What I'm asking for is a time to kind of discuss, coordinate between the city and the county to coordinate the fire inspection and fire marshal more closely than we have in the past. I think we have a great opportunity now. We've just hired a new fire marshal, Dave Johnson. He's got many years of service at the town of Indian River Shores as their fire marshal. I think he's got a great attitude and a great new ideas, and we're also at the county going through a development review committee process. We've been looking at all of our development review, from the building department to the planning department to public works and fire prevention, to streamline the process, make the process more navigable for the applicants. And my commitment to you is that I think we could do a better job of coordinating those two services between the city building department and fire prevention. And so I'm just asking for that time, if we could, if you would consider tabling this item and allowing us the opportunity to work with your staff to coordinate those services better going forward. Thank you.
Dylan Reingold, County Attorney, Indian River County, was just here to assist if there were any legal issues. I think Jason hit the nail on the head on his points, but certainly happy to address any legal issues that the council may have. Obviously, you've got your own learned counsel that you certainly have here, but I certainly, if you had any questions for me as the County Attorney.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this issue? Yes.
My name's Todd Smith. I'm a licensed structural engineer. Been practicing in City of Sebastian in this county for over 30 years. And I can remember a time back in the 90s when county administrators talked about the Development Review Committee. I sat on, for 20 years, an ad hoc committee of professional services that critiqued and read and helped draft ordinances. This is a very well-written ordinance. This is a big plus for the City of Sebastian. Over the years, and all commending the county fire department, but they have to acknowledge that we're at a point in our development where there's a bit of a gridlock going on. About 6 months ago, Commissioner had brought up a public workshop, invited all the professional engineers and architects to. County staff was represented, county fire department. At that time, there was a lot of conversations that took place with the fire chief at that time on how the review process at the fire department end was just bogging down the entire review process. And with all due respect to them, at the time, they had one full-time plan reviewer and one staff member that did half review and half inspections. And they're doing a great job, but they're overwhelmed. This was all discussed 6 months ago, and in 6 months, there's been no progress at the county end on the fire division to bring forward more staff. You have a building department down there that's handling the county, City of Vero Beach. They probably have 5 to 6 plan reviewers on staff, and then in the fire department, you have one fantastic guy that's trying to keep pace with all of them doing his own independent review. The codes between the fire department, building codes, they overlap probably by 75%. So when the comments about code compliance, it's important, I think, for the council to realize that the same quality review is going to be done on projects. You got to be code compliant. So you're going to have to meet NFPA regulations. You're going to have to meet building code regulations, regardless of whether it's still being handled at the county end or whether it's being handled by staff. It's gotten to the point, me as a professional engineer, I like being in a position where I can call up staff and say, hey, we got this project, we'd like to come in and talk to you. We're concerned about this design, that design. It's gotten to the point where county staff is not even approachable anymore. Over the past couple of years, the typical response I get is, we don't have time for questions. Submit your project and we'll give you comments. And it's this iterative process where now building permits, the building department is getting very efficient. They're coming out quick, but then nothing gets issued until fire department finishes what they're doing, which goes on for months. And time is money. It's hurting the consumer, the cost to the delays of getting a project up and going. This ordinance is a big plus for the city of Sebastian. I hope you do not table it tonight. It's a big plus for more autonomy in the city. It's tough enough with the city under traffic control with the county, traffic engineering, utilities, but here's an opportunity where the city's attorney has said it's a legal move. It's a very well-written ordinance, and I hope the council approves it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Robert Brody. I'm a licensed architect in the city of Sebastian. I like the idea, and I've heard the argument from the county that they want to coordinate everything together. I know that the county's been supplying sewer to our area for a while now, but I don't see them getting upset that there are civil engineers designing the piping work for the sewer or the water. So I think that argument is a little bogus, and I think that people that are professionals that have been trained in the code, we all have our God-given brains, and I think that we could, like the other gentleman that just spoke before me, I think that it would streamline things because, frankly, I've spent a lot of gasoline going to the county on this issue, and I just think it's time for Sebastian to actually be the city that it is and start incorporating these things within itself. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Yes, sir.
My name is Mickey Cap. My wife Liz and I started Cap Custom Builders 32 years ago in Sebastian. We've taken a lot of pride over those years working very closely with every department in the city and the county. Unfortunately, in the last 6 or 8 years, the fire department is just spiraling down rapidly. There's no communication. It takes months to get permits and reviews, days to get inspections. And as you all know, as recently, we were doing some property improvements, my partner and I. I own 2 other businesses with a co-owner. We were doing $1 million renovation on a property, which included painting, landscaping, lighting, carpet, flooring, furnishings. Our staff was in there jackhammering tile. The smoke detector went off. The fire department came in and shut the job down. It was not a permitted job. It was property improvements. The fire department walking in there cost us $100,000 to do what they required, plus 2 months of lost income. That job was permitted 13 years ago by the fire department, reviewed by the fire department, and inspected by the fire department. And we bought a building that was built properly. And they came in and cost us a lot of money and a lot of time, and that's unfair. And on a side note, I've worked with Wayne for 14 years, and working with him as far as the life safety is not going to be a walk in the park. He's very strict, he knows the code very well, I think he's the right man for the job in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Robert Bodwin, Titan General Contractors. I'm a licensed general contractor working here in Sebastian. I think as my peers who have already come up here have pretty well summed it up. I'd like to see that this isn't tabled tonight and that we proceed and move forward as a community to better the community. You have a very competent building official and staff here, and I don't see any reason to table this. Fire review process is probably 10% of the process, but is taking 90% of the permitting time right now. It's a real lengthy delay, and the inspections themselves have taken days. I've sat there for hours waiting on an inspector that never showed up. So I would really like to see the city move forward with this process. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to speak on this? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Jose from the La House Builders. I'm a general contractor. As our other colleagues say the same thing, Jeremy, we've been working in commercial projects, and one of the things, they are doing a great job in fire department, but still they have a lot of work. The situation that we got even with the customer is that when you do a commercial project, day by day that they are counting is money, and they are really worried about it, and sometimes people think twice to invest here in the town just to do that kind of project because it's taking longer. My past experience was that take like 6 weeks just to review the blueprints, and take us a little bit longer just to get the inspections. Takes over a week to get the inspections, and sometimes they don't go to there, and we have to wait another week if it's correction. When they do the plan review, we could get it fastest for the building department, but we have to wait another 2-3 weeks just to get the review from the fire department. So I really appreciate if you guys take consideration in that one, just to make it better functional, just to even take care of our customers and even ourselves, because each day that passes is money that we are wasting on it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? All right, thank you. Seeing none. Well, council, I look at this and I don't see this as being Sebastian against the county in any way, shape, manner, or form, and I don't see this being us against the fire department for sure. I think our fire department does a fantastic job for Indian River County. I see this question as being delivering service to our customers. It's an economic question for me. If we can deliver a more efficient service and relieve some of the county of that service and have no impact to our budget, I can't see how that's a loss for us. I mean, the law is the law. We have to make sure we abide by the law. So if we can deliver a more efficient service to our customers, most specifically in the realm of business development, then I can't see where this would be a bad thing for us to do going forward. But I will listen to what council has to say. Mr. Dodd?
Yeah, Joe, how many municipalities have their own fire marshal right now in the county?
Well, the county does, obviously.
Yes.
And Indian River Shores, I believe. So that would be just the B2 in the county.
Fellsmere has their own,
Oh,
correct?
Fellsmere, excuse me, you're
Yes.
right. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Fellsmere has their own, okay. We've got items in section 14 under new business tonight that also deal with this. So we're basically looking at authorizing the city manager to hire a professional inspection company to do the difficult inspections and to assist Wayne and the building staff in doing the ones that they're not able to do. And the code's the code. As long as they're qualified and have passed the appropriate test, they can do the inspections. I don't see any reason why you can't do the inspections. Just a matter of being certified to do that. So I agree that it's a financial decision for the city, and it's also a financial decision for the people that have expressed interest to me, primarily the contractors. I do personally have some concern with making sure that there's appropriate fire expertise in doing the re-inspections that we have to do every year on buildings. I think it's important to make sure that whoever does those re-inspections has the appropriate fire expertise so that when they walk into a building to inspect it, they look at it from the perspective of someone who has to go in that building and fight a fire. And they understand what potential impacts. It's great to say your ozone checker and your hood in your kitchen is working, but you have to make sure that a fireman can get to the kitchen, for example. And I do have concerns about that, but I think that's in the code, and it can be something you can train your staff to do. But I think it's something that is very important to take care of. But I do support the ordinance from the perspective of providing service to the customers of the city of Sebastian through our building department.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I move approval of item 11B.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Avino.
First, I'd like to say that I'm not opposed to the ordinance. However, I think that the city of Sebastian, in effect, to provide the best service that we can and speed things up, as they say, that we need to provide the best people to do that. And this is not a personal dig at the head of the building department in any way, shape, or form. I'm speaking from personal experiences. I'm probably one of, if not the only firefighter sitting here in this room tonight. And I don't think that going to a 200 and some hour class brings about the area of expertise that we need in order to affect the best inspector that we can provide. What I feel personally from my own experience and actually having been in a burning building and fighting fires in the past, I think that we need to bring in somebody that has experience in doing that. That would be my only disagreement with this ordinance, or moving forward with this and not tabling it, is are we going to provide the best person for the job? And like I said, I don't think that a 200-hour course is efficient enough to bring in somebody that can look at it, because until you go into a burning building or you go through a burning building after the fact and you see what failed inspections or missed work has done, or the safety that it could potentially cause in the future, then we're not doing our due diligence for the citizens of Sebastian. So like I said, I am for the ordinance. I agree that we should move forward with this, and it's going to help out the business community. But first and foremost, we need to look at life and safety, which is, I would hope, is the reason why we're all sitting up here tonight. So.
All right, very good. Discussion?
I've gone back and forth on this. I sat in a marathon county meeting last week waiting for it to come up on their agenda. But I agree. I think we need to do something in Sebastian to streamline the process. I understand that they just hired somebody. Last week they hadn't made that decision when I was sitting in that meeting. But that person's also going to need time to get up to speed, and we don't know how long that's going to take. So, it could continue to take months for our residents. So I'm in favor of moving on with this ordinance right now.
All right, thank you. Is there any further discussion by council? All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Hill,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kitchen,
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd,
Yes.
Councilmember Iovino,
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, that leads us to the second reading and public hearing, which I will open now, of ordinance number O-18-03, the petition for voluntary annexation, Spirit of Sebastian. Mr. Griffin.
Yes, sir. The city attorney will be reading the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Sebastian, Florida, providing for the voluntary annexation for land consisting of 182.87 acres, more or less, located south of vacant industrial zone land, west of the FEC Railroad and Old Dixie Highway, and north and east of Sebastian Highlands and South Moon under residential subdivisions, providing for the extension of the corporate limits and boundaries thereof, providing for interim land use and zoning classification, providing for conflict and severability, and providing for an effective date.
This is a voluntary annexation, requires one public hearing, and staff is recommending approval.
right, thank you very much. Council, we have a lot of stuff in our backup. And prior to going to public input, I would just like to get some clarification on staff as their presentation as to whether or not the presentation that was provided to us in our agenda is in fact correct. Now, I'll preface this by saying that I have my ear to the ground. I get phone calls. I see social media. I know what the concerns and questions are, and I understand them. I understand why anyone would be concerned if they were told that we're going to add 780 houses to our area. I can understand where that concern would be, or to say that we're going to put 780 septic tanks in our area. Those concerns are great to me. So I have some questions for staff so that we can make sure that everyone has the facts prior to going forward. First question, the underlying zoning of this property is L2, is that not correct?
That's correct. That's the county zoning, correct?
County zoning is L2. What does L2 allow for?
6 units per acre,
6
sir.
units per acre.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, portion of the underlying zoning in the county is also commercial,
Commercial, yes it is.
a very small sliver.
And I did some homework in math. Is it not correct that if you remove that commercial portion of this property in the underlying zoning, that the property as currently zoned in the underlying zoning of the county could provide for 1,044 residential units?
I would have to do the math, sir.
Well, it's certainly over 1,000 units that could be developed today on this property. Okay, thank you. Just going through and trying to make sure we have the facts on this. The county has in their underlying zoning the L1, and in their comprehensive plan, it essentially allows for the underlying zoning to be used by the developer or the owner of the property with very little effort.
That's correct, sir.
Thank you. So they could essentially build 1,044 homes on the property that we're discussing annexing into the city of Sebastian. The developer is asking for an annexation of the city of Sebastian to develop about 690 residential units.
Well, sir, at this point, they're asking for 550, roughly, single-family homes and 140 duplexes. Yes,
That's
sir.
right. So the total is about 690 residential units that the developer is looking for versus the 1,044 units that could currently be developed if it's left in the county. Is that factual?
Yes, sir, if I did the math.
Thank you. So that's a reduction of about 350, a reduction of about 350 homes, should the city of Sebastian choose to develop this or to annex this and go forward with this PUD. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So this would reduce the amount of traffic on our roads while requiring the developer to pay for any improvements to the transportation system that this development impacts. Is that factual?
Correct, sir.
And this is, I'm just going through staff presentation because council has received a presentation by staff through our agenda. So I'm simply going through, making sure everyone has what we have in our agenda. So there's really not only a benefit to the community through a reduction in the amount of homes that could be there, but there's a benefit in the collection of revenues to the community. The question would be, the potential development, first of all, is it consistent with our objectives and policies of our comprehensive plan? You stated that in our agenda as part of our backup. So this is, again, your presentation. It's an enclave in the city?
Yes, sir.
Consistent. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The potential development will not have an adverse impact, and this, again, folks, is what we have on our agenda. It's not what the public has received. I'm just letting you all know what's in our agenda. The potential development will not have an adverse impact on the public health, safety, welfare, or aesthetics of the city or region, as stated in our agenda.
That is correct, sir.
Thank you. So beyond the reduction, again, we will have an impact financially. The city would require approximately 7 acres of land to be set aside for recreational land.
That is correct.
And we will still take in approximately $600,000 in recreation impact fees. Correct?
Correct.
Well, the 600, over 600,000 is going to be taxable revenue that also includes the recreational impact fees as well as the stormwater fees.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, but these stormwater fees are an annual fee,
Correct.
and those fees are about $41,000 per year.
That's correct, sir.
So the city will collect $41,000 per year from this development if developed under this PUD that the request is, while still maintaining their stormwater on site
That's correct,
and treating the stormwater prior to its release.
That's correct, sir.
So $41,000 a year to the city of Sebastian. Built out, which there's about a 10-year projection on this, so we're talking about 50 to 60 homes per year in development and growth. The city's taxable revenue would be approximately $628,000. $628,000 to the city of Sebastian. Would any of those benefits come to the city of Sebastian should we not annex this property?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, so those are the absolute facts on this question. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to discuss this? Yes, sir. You.
Yes, sir. My name is John Norris, Sebastian resident. I've owned land here on Paddock Street since 1969-70. I'm a West Point grad. I'm an engineer. I want to commend everyone sitting here on why move this community, because you've kept it in a tranquil, sanctuary-type setting, and that's attracted, as you know, a lot of ex-military, policemen, firemen, people from Miami, et cetera. My feeling now is, after listening to you, I don't want to be stampeded into a purchase like this. I've had nothing against the annexation of that particular property. The density, however, and you've already heard this and you addressed it already, is, and I'm going to have my rocket science roommate talk in a minute also about the duplexes, but the density, assuming 2.5 residents, is a lot of residents, even over a 10-year period for the community to absorb. My inclination is it's not a spirit of Sebastian. And I'm not a NIMBY. I'm not against economic development. I want the city to make a reasonable amount of money, but to balance what we're doing here. And I think an annexation, but a more discussion about the density, and he's going to bring up the point later. The duplex accounting is not factual. Assuming 2.5 residents per home is really not factual. And it's going to add a lot more, even in a 10-year period, than I think that we believe at this point. So I don't want to table annexation and bringing the property into the city. I think more discussion, with the understanding, more discussion should be done about the set aside, the preserve area, the buffer to the Laurel Preserve in that area. Should be more discussion rather than this being a set given with not a lot of input. This came up kind of suddenly in my mind through the newspaper, and there needs to be more input into deciding exactly the density and the levels of the use of the property. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, Council, my name is Ray Fries. My wife and I live on 171 Del Monte, which is becoming the heart of the issue, I believe, for not only the council, but many of the people here in this room. We moved here in 2001, we bought our house, so we've been a resident of this beautiful city for a long time and appreciate it for what the council over the years has done and tried to maintain. Sleepy little town, small town, no big construction, the elevations of the buildings not looking like West Palm Beach. And we appreciate that. We appreciate the safety. However, I have a lot of questions regarding this development, and I had some problems getting answers to these, and I wonder if I could ask a few right now. Would that be possible? Sure. Appropriate, I should say?
Well, sir, you may ask your questions, and we'll go ahead and mark them down. You have 5 minutes So you should probably ask your questions, and then we'll discuss those questions at the appropriate time for sure.
I appreciate it. Will it be on city water and sewer?
Yes.
Excellent. One of the main entrances is going to be Del Monte, and it looks like the road cuts around through, eventually hooking onto, I'm going brain dead on the road there that goes around to the south side. However, our concern is the improvements that are going to be necessary for Del Monte going to the intersection of South Wimbrow, and the assumption by everybody is going to be that if you want to go west on 95 or 512 to go to 95, you're going to go right then on South Wimbrow heading north to get on to 512. That's not going to be the case. Right now, everybody in our area goes down Del Monte to the intersection with Easy Street where you get a red light, easily get out, and you avoid all of that, the school speeds and the police that police that regularly. So we're concerned with the improvements that will have to be done to Del Monte Road down to Easy Street too, knowing a little bit about what the improvements are going to be on South Wimbrow in that area for turning, possibly and hopefully a four-way stop sign to slow down traffic because it does get rather fast. That's one of our big concerns. A construction entrance. Where are the dump trucks? Where is all the heavy equipment going to be going in and out of this place? Are you going to allow it to go through a residential area like Del Monte, or are you going to let it go through the other entrances that are over in the section which is zoned for commercial along Old Dixie Road? They've apparently been using that already because they've done a lot of construction work and whatnot, excavation in the property right now. So they're apparently using it, and I would assume it'd be off of Old Dixie. But we, for 14 years or 10 years, whatever it takes to build this thing out, don't want to continually have this construction equipment going through a residential area where it impacts the safety of the kids and the children. And obviously, it's probably going to be a gated community, so they're going to be allowed to access our area, but we're not allowed to go through their area. We're not allowed to go back there and walk and take a bicycle or anything like that. So that's a little bit uneven to me. And also, who's going to be responsible for the bridge that's going to be necessary at Del Monte entering into the development? Right now, it's a canal there with I would call it a field entrance, probably a pipe under it. I haven't physically looked at it, but I would imagine that there'd be a substantial amount of money necessary to build some type of a bridge. So I don't want the taxpayers to be footing the bill for all this. I don't. I really don't. And I want to thank you all.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I would suggest that every one of the concerns that were just spoken are legitimate concerns by the public. And every one of those concerns will be dealt with as we proceed through this process. This is an annexation question. The process that we're going forward with will require planning, zoning. It's going to require a lot of different things, and it's going to require traffic studies, and it's going to require approvals on every issue that you just asked. So your questions and concerns are legitimate, and I can assure you, sir, that they will be listened to and seen.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Dr. Patricia A. Pizzullo, and I just have a couple of comments to make. You've presented some information, and you've said it was factual information. And what you're looking at is the dollars and cents, and that's the easy part of this whole plan. The most difficult part is the human part. What will it do? Just as that gentleman tried to highlight, what will it do for the people already living in the area? When you're looking at 600-something homes, you're looking at not one school, sir, you're looking at probably 2 schools. You've got to take an average of 1.5 child per home. So I'm going to ask you, with all the information that you gave and with the fact that you said they were facts, they're dollars and cents, and you can go and play with those facts and come up with them. Has there been any impact studies for each of these areas? And if so, where is it? Can it be seen? Can we look at it?
Again, very legitimate concerns.
what?
Very legitimate concerns and questions that you have. At this time, our discussion is relative to the annexation. The facts that I was talking about was the facts that those dollars would be coming in, but the facts that are also true are that would it be developed under the county, there could be approximately 1,100 units rather than the 600 and some that are being discussed. But your concerns are very, very warranted, and we have a long, arduous process to go through, and there will be several public hearings and meetings going forward that every one of those issues are going to be discussed, and they will be discussed ad nauseum at our planning and zoning commissions, and then again here at the city council. So I fully understand and respect your concerns and can assure you that every one of them are being heard, and they will be dealt with as we go forward with this process.
So your approval tonight will do what? Open the door for impact studies in each of these areas?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and I mean the facts,
Yes, ma'am.
you get an engineer, a group of engineers, and there has to be an impact study.
Ma'am?
Because 1,100 homes, let me tell you, you're not talking one school, you're not talking two, you may be talking 3 schools.
Yes, ma'am, and I
And
can
that's quite
assure
a
you-
burden for the people in this community.
I understand, and I can assure you that we're not talking about 1,100 homes. If it were in the county, they could build 1,100. We're talking about an annexation with many less homes. And prior to the development of this property, all of the studies that you're concerned with must be done.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Robert Werner. I've been a resident of Sebastian for 14 years. I'm a retired Army colonel. I would like to point out, just looking at this quickly, looking at the numbers here, I don't see 690 residents. I see 830 because the duplexes are it's one unit, but it's 2 residences, each one with 2.5 occupants according to the numbers here, which then, if you do the math, would require 8.3 acres rather than 6.9 acres of recreational area. That was just one figure I checked, so it makes me very suspect of a lot of the so-called facts that are presented in here when I see such a glaring inaccuracy like that nobody else has picked up on here. I've also heard that construction has actually begun over there. I'd just like to point that out.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. The actual development that's being discussed has 550 single-family units and 140 duplexes. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Damian Gilliams, real estate broker. Been in this community over 32 years, developed numerous projects. I never heard so much malarkey in my life. Mr. Mayor, let's get the facts straight. First of all, I confronted you on that last time about Wellington. I went and checked the book back there. There's no ordinance in your paperwork tonight. That's an article from the Post. So let's be straight and honest with people.
Sir,
You're not being honest.
Do not speak over me when I'm speaking.
Okay, let's
You will stay on the issue
let's
that
get
we
to the
have
facts,
here.
sir.
Sir, I'm not finished yet.
I'm watching my time.
No, you are not. If you are going to break the rules that you know are in place, then I will have to explain the rules to you. You are up here to discuss this ordinance. Now, you may proceed.
Number one, you put fear into these people about the county. That is completely a lie. It's not factual. You brought this lady here, she's not an engineer, to testify to facts that are not true. Fact number one, Mr. Mayor, this is not good for our town, and I'll tell you why. There's going to be an impact, financial impact financially to this community that you're not aware of. The city chief has not even weighed in. I spoke to her. There's going to be police vehicles. There's going to be so many things going to make your head spin. Mr. Mayor, if you really care about this community, you would not be defending the developer tonight. You would be defending the people that you represent, the people that put you up there tonight, Mr. Mayor. Let me be factual, okay? Very factual. We don't have to give them access to our roads. They're going to build through the county, let them go through the county. You know that we need proper representation. You give millions of dollars to the good old boys on Indian River Drive for their projects, and you do plenty of studies, and all we're asking for is few studies before you put this. We're not saying no. We're saying, let's study this. Let's study the financial impact. Let's study the density. Let's study the transportation. Let's study, I got a list of things here. It's called annexation and citizens. And I brought it tonight because I called Mr. McPartland today and 2 other council members, and I told them I would bring this. Statistically, they did 157 municipalities in Maryland, and it's been proven, and I can read it for you. The average tax rate for the 6 size groups was then computed. The graph shows that the smallest towns have the lowest tax rates, and the cost of government increases as municipal area expands. These are studies. So we're not saying no, we're saying table this. We want you to spend some of our tax money defending our rights in this community. We want studies. We want a transportation study done. We want the school board to weigh in. We want everybody to weigh in, and we want to see the facts, and we don't want you to order the studies. We want to put a committee together, and we want to order these studies so that we know they're independent. That's what we're talking about, Mr. Mayor. It says that if you put commercial down there, clean commercial, it brings in more tax revenue, less impact to the community, less impact to the schools. That's not, for every dollar you think you're taking in from this project, you're going to be spending $1.20, maybe $1.50, maybe $2. We don't know this yet until we do the study. There's been no studies. I've got your study here, Mr. Mayor. I've been reading it. I know the game. You must be putting stipulations in this agreement with this annexation after the studies are done. You cannot put the cart before the horse and give this guy, this developer, carte blanche into our community when you have a little railroad that's one way on one side of town. You got 3 egress and ingresses onto this property. You got 1 road going west. We need to have all the facts. And if this board cares about this community tonight, at any time, you would table this to a date certain till we get all the facts by independent people and represent the people of this community. I will be happy to share with this community, the staff's findings, by the way. The proposal has not adverse impact to public health and safety. That is not true. That on the record. You sent out a letter after the first hearing. You should have sent out the letter before the first hearing. So there's 2 public hearings, and everybody, now your code may read differently, and I see you shaking your head, but you owe it to this community to give them a chance to organize. Don't slide this through. You need to stop this. You need to say, hey, we represent the people of this community. Level of service impacts will be addressed during land use and zoning. Mr. Mayor, you know that that's after the fact. We want the stipulations attached to the annexation. And the list goes on.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate
You have a lot of questions to answer.
Thank you very much.
I'll see you under public input.
Can't wait. By the way, your concerns are valid, and they'll all be dealt with as we go forward with this process, should the city decide to annex the property tonight. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Charles Morty. I live at 438 Georgia Boulevard here in Sebastian. I've heard some of the folks speak tonight. I'm not against the annexation, but I would strongly advise that we stop and really look at what they're proposing. There are a lot of questions that remain unanswered, and I don't think it's proper that it goes forth with the annexation and put the burden on other departments. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Cindy Giese. My husband Adam and I have lived here 4 years in Laurel Reserve. Initially, that development was supposed to have ingress and egress onto Fleming. Somehow that never happened. We're going to be greatly impacted by Manly and Bailey's traffic from this development. We'd really like you to relook at how we're supposed to get in and out, especially since we are having actual new buildings go up in Laurel Reserve. I'd like just a few questions. Bottom line, what will the city bring in tax dollars when this is totally developed versus the services we will be expected to pay? Will there be any Section 8 housing allowed? Considering much of this area will enjoy noise from the high-speed train, what are the units planning to sell for? Are there any height restrictions in that area? And forgive me, I probably should know that. Will this development affect any preserve area? And that's it, but please keep Little Laurel Reserve in mind so we can get out of where we live. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else from the public wish to speak on this issue? Yes, sir. Mr. Hocker. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor. Ben Hawker, City of Sebastian.
Sir.
Let's do it for instance. I'm a contractor. I get a hold of 5 other people. We put money into a fund. We find vacant land. I've got to go and purchase these individual properties. Oh, by the way, there are 4 lakes on this property. I guess that was sand mining. Now, I come to the city to get annexed in. All my zoning gets changed. I verbally tell you 700. Might be the homes. Maybe 300. Who knows? Unknown. I went to get a plat of the property. There is none. It won't be done until after the annexation. So now the 5 of us are now invested in property. We buy all the little parcels. And like we annexed another piece of property. The gentleman bought 2 properties and turned it into agriculture by planting a few fruit trees, saying I'm going to make a winery. Now, this is a long-generated term project. We've got one on the corner of Barbara. 3 separate zonings or stages. It's all under agriculture when it was empty. Now, 180 acres under agriculture, I'm just taking it for instance, but I do it because I wouldn't be paying taxes on it. Now, the city's not going to get anything from me. I've got a piece of property with a plan. When am I going to do the plan? I have no idea, but I'm not paying tax on it. I make it agriculture. We've got people doing that in our city. I'm saying we have no answer to time. How many people, how many homes? Who's going to fix Old Dixie 1-lane highway along the railroad track? That our responsibility? Then I heard we may not have that as a crossing. But with our 5 crossings through Sebastian, there's talk of closing it. Well, now I'm caught in the development. I can't go anywhere but a single-lane road and try and get to 512. I can go the other way, but I can't cross the tracks now. Again, I don't know when you see a profit coming, because I'm going to make it agricultural land. As soon as I get the annexation into the city. Now, 10 years from now, you might see a couple dollars, because I'm going to develop one section, as was done on the complex at the end of Barber Street. And then Section 2 opens. Now you start to see money. How long? 20 years? I know the answer. We're planning for the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else for the public wish to speak on this issue? All right, seeing none. Jill? Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, under our rules, you have already spoken. Thank you very much. And I'll now close public input, and we appreciate all of your comments and can assure you that all of those concerns that we have heard will be dealt with. Joe?
During the site plan.
Beg your pardon?
During the site plan
Yes.
review.
Yes, sir.
Is there a summation you'd like to make?
The only summation is that staff is recommending approval of the ordinance.
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to close the public hearing and for council deliberation and action. Council, I will just go back to what staff's original presentation was, and it was that should the city of Sebastian annex this property, there's going to be less traffic on the roads. There's going to be less impact to the roads. The developer will have to put in the roads that are going through this property. They're going to have to put sewer. They're going to have to put water. They're going to have to put electric. They're going to have to go through all of the expenses that the city won't have to touch. And they're still going to have to pay taxes and impact fees. And we'll have control through the process as to exactly what lands on this property. For me, this is a no-brainer.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Actually, I want to thank all the people that came up to speak. I anticipated it would be a lot more boisterous than it has been. You were all very, very calm and presented your points without any problem. But we've talked a lot about process. I think I want to back up just a little bit and talk about what really that process is. The ordinance that we're being asked to approve tonight does not include zoning specifications. It does not include anything. It basically says that we're going to make that piece of land part of the city of Sebastian. That's all it says. As far as Section 2 of the ordinance, for example, says that interim land use and zoning classifications for this property shall be consistent with the provisions of state law. That's all it says. It doesn't say 5 units per acre or 10 units per acre. It says nothing about that. What has to happen, assuming that this property is annexed this evening, is that the owner of the property, through his agent, has to apply to the city for a zoning classification. And they will come to the city and apply for this property to be zoned under a specific zoning classification. The indication that we've received is that that's probably going to be a PUD, which is a planned unit development residential zoning classification. That planned unit development residential zoning classification is then going to require that the city do traffic studies, impact studies. The school board's going to be involved in doing studies on that. It's going to go to our Planning Zoning Commission, where they're going to look at ingress and egress. They're going to look at streets. They're going to talk to the developer about the types of things that they have to do in order to qualify for that zoning classification. If they qualify for that, assuming that they do, then they have to present to the city council a preliminary plat for that PUD. That preliminary plat now has to show lot lines, it has to show amenities, it has to show access points. The city council, as well as the Planning and Zoning Commission in their review, have every opportunity at that point in time to delineate to the developer what impact that they have to mitigate. Do they have to repair streets? Do they have to build streets? Do they have to build bridges over canals, for example? There's been no decision, for example, that everybody who lives in this subdivision 10 years from now will be coming out on Wimbrow and going to 512. A preliminary plat for a PUD of this size is going to require 3 or 4 ingress and egress points. Where they are, I don't know. It's going to depend a lot on how much money the developer is willing to invest in infrastructure where they might be. If they're willing to invest in trying to get a railroad crossing that is slated for destruction possibly to be fixed and brought up to current standards, then there may well be a point of ingress and egress on Old Dixie Highway where that crossing is, because it's adjacent to the property. I don't know the answers to any of those. No one does. And I think that there's been a lot of talk about why don't we do pre-planning. Well, think to yourself, you're going to build a house, and you hire a contractor to build a house, and you walk through his model. And the contractor says, okay, I'm going to build this model for you, but I will change nothing. And you say, well, I may want to change some things. Well, what the city has to do now is to get this developer willing to invest money to do the PUD application, to invest money to do the preliminary plat that has to be approved for the PUD, to invest money to do that stuff under the city's control, not under the county's control. Because what the mayor delineated at the beginning of this discussion is 100% right. Under county control, it can be a lot more units. It was almost a cement plant under county control. That was in courts for a long time before it was killed. So under the city control, it changes that dramatically. Once the PUD preliminary plat is approved, then they have to go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission with a site plan and get that approved. We're so far in the approval process now on this that to be concerned that the city is not going to represent you in this is premature. I will tell you, I mean, I've been on the council for 2 years. I was on the Planning and Zoning Commission for 12 years before that. I chaired the Planning and Zoning Commission for several years, and I can't think of a single instance where those people did not represent the citizens of this city in reviewing preliminary plats, in reviewing site plans. In fact, there's some developers who weren't happy with the stuff they were being asked to do, and there will be times in this development that they're not going to be happy with the stuff they're being asked to do. But we do have a good group involved in this, and the city staff is going to represent your needs. And it's not like they can plan everything up front. You can't produce every plan and every study before you decide you're going to do a project. You have to make that basic decision first. This is the first step in that decision to do that. So I just want to make sure everybody understood. I've heard a lot of discussion about the fact that we should do all these studies. We're going to do all those studies. There is and it's easy to say, trust the process. I know people don't trust government anymore, but that's federal government. Remember, this is local government. We have to go to Walmart with you, okay? We have to walk around this town with you. We meet you at the park. That's different. Don't trust the federal government, but trust the local government. They're going to be more interested in protecting your needs. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that. And I agree 100% with that, and therefore I would make a motion to approve ordinance number O-18-03.
Second.
We motion second. Further discussion by council? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Kitchen?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Iovino?
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Mayor Hill?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And again, we appreciate all of your questions and concerns,
Mr. Mayor.
and we will definitely be looking at them and understanding them. Yes, sir, Mr.
Can we
McParland.
take 5?
We certainly can. We're going to take a 5-minute recess. I'd like to be able to go ahead and reconvene at 7:40. All right, thank you, everybody. We're back to order here, please. Thank you very much. I very much appreciate the candor of the public on that last very crucial issue. On that last very crucial issue that we have for our future. Council, we're up to item 12A, terminate the agreement for professional engineering services between the City of Sebastian and Dredging and Marine Consultants. Mr. Giffen.
Yes, sir. At council's request, I had the representative from Dredging and Marine Consultants, DMC, make a presentation on the 24th of January of 18. Frankly, it was an embarrassing presentation. I was underwhelmed by the performance of the engineer, and it made me suspect about how much progress had been made on that project. That project concerns the southern waterway system, the seawalls and/or embankments along that waterway system, and I felt like there was inadequate progress and inadequate information that was passed to council and the public. The next day, after that meeting, I contacted that representative from DMC and asked him to stop all work on it pending action from council. As you all know, we skipped the meeting, last meeting, and so this is the first time I've been able to bring this forward. And I'm asking that council agree that we terminate the agreement with DMC, and then I will ask for an accounting from DMC. If I could talk about something else that's closely connected to this work, and that is the overall stormwater system we have in the city. The work that was supposed to be done on this project was to investigate the condition of our seawalls and earthen embankments and see what the long-term solution would be for these issues that we have in the southern waterway system. As you all know, that is a function of our overall stormwater system. Closely related to that are other stormwater issues that we have going on in the city right now. Obviously, stormwater is a major issue for us, maintenance issue and/or project issue. I came to you a few months ago requesting a change in our stormwater policy. Council agreed with that. We are progressing on some of those stormwater programs that we're working on right now, along with the paving of roads, Glentree, Pleasant View right now, Ocean Cove, some of those areas over there are being worked on as we speak. So we're progressing with these stormwater projects, but frankly, this issue with DMC has given me fresh eyes on the overall subject. I would like to come back to council, if not at the next meeting, the meeting after, and really get down to discussing our stormwater future and the funding for some of these projects that we have out there with the city. So I'm asking tonight that council agree to terminate the contract with DMC. I will ask them for a full accounting, and that's my recommendation.
All right, thank you very much. There was a lot of concern brought up by Councilmember Dodd, so Mr. Dodd, do you have any comment on this?
Yeah, I agree with the canceling of the contract. And I also agree. I think the original discussion when DMC was hired was to try to produce a more strategic long-term plan for dealing with that wall. And I agree 100% with the comments that the city manager made. I think we definitely need that. The whole Tanner study that was done in 2015, assuming, and they did an extremely good engineering study on that wall, and assuming that their conclusions were somewhat near accurate, we're within 1 or 2 years of having to really start addressing large failures on that wall. We're within 5 years of having to address a high percentage of that, and so I think we need to do something. Not just talk about what we're going to do, but talk about funding streams to try to do that. Maybe lay out a 10 or 12, 15-year plan that has funding that's appropriate for that allows us to address it. There's a lot of issues we have to deal with. I understand the problem with the part of the walls being on private property and not being on private property. I think that's not germane to the discussion about putting together a strategic plan on how to deal with it. Then we have to deal with that issue separate from that as we go through that. But I agree 100% that we should do something strategically with that. I was hoping we'd get that in this contract, but it's not going to happen.
Would you like to make a motion regarding?
Oh, okay, I'll make a motion if I have to do that. I'll move that we cancel the contract with DMC Engineering.
All right, a motion. I'll second that motion.
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember McPartlin. Second the motion. Any discussion by council further than that? Anyone from the public wish to discuss this issue? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Damian Gilliams. The legislation just completed up in Tallahassee, and the governor is reviewing the budget. I'm not sure if he signed off on it. I just thought I'd let the council know that there was a lot of money awarded through Indian River County and also over by Indian River Shores. They're getting a new road. And you know what we're getting? Just what you guys put into it. Zilch. Nothing. And we've got so many problems in this town. I'm still waiting to have my street, and I know it's never going to get paved. They put a barricade. This is so funny. I get up and I hear we're taking on 200 more acres of property so that we can take on more problems tonight. But I got a barricade. They come by, they paved, I think they paved one part of the hole. They left the barricade there, and it's a mess. And this is throughout the whole Highlands. So I commend you, Mr. Dodd, for at least trying to get this on the radar. We've been trying to get it on the radar since one of the other council members got his new canal wall put in, which was nice, and then forgot about everybody else in the community. But enough is enough, guys. Really. Let's get our act together. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public wish to speak on this issue? Again, as stated before, I think that to get your act together is exactly what we're doing, and I appreciate you bringing this up, Mr. Dodd. Any further discussion by this council? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Avino?
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Mayor Hill?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kitchen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. That leads us up to item 12B, review and advise the city manager interview process. Mr. Griffin.
Yes, sir. In your council packets, the agenda item that I entered concerns our city manager interview process. I'd like to give you the update on where we are right now. And I put in the announcement that Colin Basinger and Associates published. That announcement closed on March the 2nd. Mr. Basinger was, he had to send me a report that was due on the 7th. I received that on the 6th of March. That's also in your council packet. I believe that says that they've received 65 or 67 packets from applicants. The next thing to discuss would be the report that is due on March 28th. March 28th is our next council meeting, so I will not be able to give you an agenda item on that. Hopefully, and going to receive something from Mr. Basinger. I will be able to present that night. Then the following week will be the interviews themselves. In your agenda item, I entered the interview process. April 2nd, the candidates will arrive, check into Captain Hiram's Hotel. We have made those reservations. On Tuesday, the 3rd of April, there'll be a city bus tour. One of the young ladies from the Community Development Department and myself, also my wife, is going to attend, and we're going to conduct a bus tour for the candidates and ostensibly their spouses. And at 5 p.m., there's going to be a reception for candidates, council members, charter officers, department heads, the Chamber of Commerce director, and spouses. And on Wednesday, we're going to start the interview process at 8:45 a.m. And there'll be one-on-one council interviews, and we will place council members in individual offices on the second floor of City Hall for private one-on-one interviews with the applicants. At noon, we're going to have a light lunch, and then At 2 p.m., a full council public workshop interviews, and we will cycle individual applicants in for the full council to conduct interviews. And then at 5 p.m., we will conduct a special meeting, full council special meeting for a possible selection. If there's no selection done at that meeting, the next night I will also schedule a meeting on the 5th of April, which is Thursday at 5 p.m. for a possible selection. So what I would need from council tonight is some sort of direction with regard to the conduct of the public workshop interviews and acquiescence to the schedule that I have presented.
All right, thank you very much. Council, who would like to start?
I'll start.
Microphone.
First, let's talk about the workshop.
Mike?
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Let's address the workshop first. Under our standard rules, during a workshop, we have to have public input, correct?
That is the standard, although it is waivable by council action.
All right, so I'd like to, for the workshop that's being convened at 2 to 5 p.m. on Wednesday, the 4th of April, I'd like to place a motion on the floor that we suspend the standard rules and that we not have public input during that workshop.
Second.
Okay. Let's go ahead and handle that at this, if you...
I'm sorry.
You want to go ahead and handle that issue right now?
Well, I mean, if we're going to, yeah, we're
Right.
going to do them one at a time.
All right,
we
I have a
can deal
motion and
with
a
that.
second to suspend public input at the workshop that's to be held. Any public input on that?
Yeah.
All right, hearing none. Discussion by council on that? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Iovino,
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin,
Yes.
Mayor Hill,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kitchen,
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now also, one other thing I wanted, to- on the public workshop that we're going to have, I'd like to notify or ask if the council would agree that anyone from the public who has a question they'd like presented, they can email that to the city attorney, who would then review those questions from a legality point of view and make sure it's something that can be asked. And then either the mayor or the city attorney might ask those questions of the candidates. That way the public will have an opportunity to get questions in. I just don't, the reason I did the prior motion was I don't want to get us in a one-on-one back and forth between the public and the candidates. But this way, if someone from the public has a question they'd like to present and the city attorney agrees it's something that we can ask in an interview, because there are legalities to that, that either the mayor or the city attorney would ask those questions of each candidate. And that's just a recommendation. That's not, I'm not placing a motion on that. I don't think I have to.
I think a general consensus of council would allow for that to go forward.
But would that be any different than a member of the public emailing one of us, and then we discussing it with the city attorney? Now, you're saying anybody from the public emailing the city attorney,
Okay,
he's got enough to do.
Yeah. I don't have any problem at all if it comes to a council member.
Right.
As long as the council member and the city attorney, and I think most of us could probably on our own decide if it's legal or not, but as long as, and if an individual council member receives questions from the public, they may choose to ask them themselves.
Right, but I don't think it's appropriate for anybody from the city to be emailing the city attorney with questions.
Yeah, okay. That's fine. I mean, what do you think?
I can do, are you talking real time, like during the interview that they email, or beforehand?
No,
You're
before
talking
the
beforehand.
interviews.
Oh, okay. I mean, I would be happy to do it any way you like. If you want me to be the clearinghouse and have stuff come to me, certainly can deal with that. It'd probably be better to have him come to me than to go to Colin, because he's our vendor here. We don't necessarily want him to get involved. But council members could take him direct too.
I don't have any issue with saying they can send it to individual council members.
And we can always forward it to the city attorney.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that.
If we get them individually, we can forward them to Mr. Stokes.
And I think it would be necessary for us to forward them as public record.
Yeah.
So we would have to do that, so.
Yeah. So I don't have any issue. If we want to basically tell the public that they can send them to individual council members, Don't send them to all council members, because that creates a sunshine issue. So
Right.
send them to an individual council member.
Well, I mean, if a member of the public wanted to send you all the question, as long as you don't start discussing
Yes,
the questions
yes.
among yourself, obviously, but.
Okay. And then the last point on this, I brought this up to the city manager, and to his credit, didn't understand my analogy, but even the bachelor changed his mind after he had a little bit of time to think about it this year. And since he didn't understand my analogy, that means he probably didn't watch The Bachelor, which is probably to his credit that he didn't watch that. But I would prefer making the decision now that we have the meeting on the 5th instead of having a 5 p.m. meeting on the 4th. I would kind of like to spend the night thinking about the interviews before I personally make a selection or debate an individual versus not debate an individual. So that's just my personal preference, is having an evening to think about it as opposed to trying to go straight from the public meeting into, or the public workshop into a decision-making meeting.
And I think, so you're saying that regardless of what we feel at the moment, then we're still going to wait. So
Yeah.
we cannot make the decision on the 4th.
Right. That's what I'm saying, is don't have that 5 p.m. full council special meeting on the 4th, have it on the 5th, at 5 p.m. on the 5th, and that's the meeting at which we would make a decision. That would give each of us an opportunity to reflect on the interviews and the public interview session and kind of solidify in our own mind who we are interested in dealing with on that. That's all.
That creates a lot of duress for me. I work a full-time job Monday through Friday,
Yeah.
and I'm vamping 4 days of vacation to do this process to begin with, and we're or 3, potentially 4 days vacation, and not that I don't want to give the time to the city, but adding another day is just, I mean, I understand your point, Ed, it's a lot. I mean, I
Well,
think we made a decision on the city attorney in one afternoon, did we not?
Yeah, I did.
Right.
I knew who I
So-
wanted after the interviews. I mean, we're going to have both individual and public interviews. If you,
Right.
if you can't pick somebody after all that.
Well, I would suggest, though, that if we can't, and there is that concern, we always have the fallback
Yes.
of having that meeting on the 5th.
I like
I think
doing
we
that.
should try it at least and then
So
see.
it does make, as it sits now, we have the ability to make it that night, but we're not required to.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
that's
we can
fine.
just
Please.
go ahead and move
Yeah.
it to the 5th if we
Okay.
can't come to a decision.
Okay.
Anything else, Councilmember? Mr. Dodd, is there
I'm done.
anything else? Anyone else
I'm
have
fine.
any discussion on this?
No,
All right, so we have
direction.
direction.
The direction to me is, the instructions for the public workshop is that there will be no public input. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. All right, thank you, Council. That leads us up to item 13, that's public input. Anyone from the public wish to speak tonight on any issue that's not currently on the agenda? Yes, ma'am.
Hey, 2 bites at the apple tonight, lucky girl. I'm still Cindy Geezy, and my husband Adam and I have been here 4 years after escaping from 60 years in Broward County. We wanted to thank the council for the support for our Rest, Relaxation, and Romance program. We run as volunteers for the Greater Jacksonville USO, a 501c3 charity. In this program, every year we host 6 active duty military couples chosen by the USO for all expense-paid 3-night weekends at a local resort in Sebastian, and local restaurants provide all meals. Businesses provide flowers, fishing trips, couples massages. They like that. Beauty treatments, fruit baskets, custom t-shirts, goodie bags, adult beverages, anything I can get donated. Thanks to the local Sebastian business community, we've hosted 12 couples over the last 2 years. Before that, we hosted 36 couples in South Florida. Next month, we will host our 50th couple, all active duty military. These are young folks who otherwise could not afford a vacation like this. Special thanks to Mayor Hill, who suggested a city proclamation approving the Rest, Relaxation, and Romance program 2 years ago. Thanks to Joe Griffin and Jeanette Williams, who drafted the proclamation, and to Mayor Partland, who signed it 2 years ago. It gave us credibility among our new business community. And special thanks to Indian River County Commissioner Bob Solari and his wife Jackie, who give a generous donation to the USO so all their tips can be reimbursed. We generated a lot of positive publicity for Sebastian, always giving full credit to the generous business community. And I think some of you might have seen this. We had it in a lot of newspapers, but 10 pages in Vero Beach magazine about Sebastian was really exciting. And I got to tell you, these young kids, one of their favorite things is meeting local Pearl Harbor survivor Arnie Schwitzenberg and his wife Lily. She's much younger. She's only 89. He's 97. And they have an opportunity to have breakfast with Arnie and Lily. You should see this. These young sailors and this Pearl Harbor survivor, just, instant bromance. So that's been a lot of fun for us to see. I just wanted to thank the council for their support and remind all the viewing public out there, we always need restaurant gift certificates. So if you go to a particular Mexican restaurant or a Chinese restaurant, you know the management there, please hit them up for some gift certificates. I'll be here till the end if anybody can see me and help with those restaurant gift certificates. So thank you very, very much for your support. You've made changes in a lot of people's lives.
Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Damian Gilliams. Cindy and Adam do a wonderful job with providing that service to the community with the veterans and bringing them here, the people that are in the military. So if anybody out there that's listening, Cindy and Adam, thank you. You're doing a great job. Mr. Mayor, I know you're probably going to say no, but I'm confused about the Wellington question I asked you earlier. I got your agenda in front of me. Could you just tell me what page you said that ordinance is on? And then I'll be happy to leave the...
I will tell you exactly where the synopsis for the Wellington...
Would you tell me what page, just so we have clarification? Because I went through
I will
the
go
whole-
ahead and tell you, and I will read it.
And then I will leave.
No, sir.
I will leave.
No, sir. I will tell you where it is, and I will read it to you so that you can fully understand where this is.
Okay, what
It's on
page? What page?
Sir, do not interrupt me
All right.
when
What
I
pa-
speak. If
I
you
wanna
do it
try to
again,
follow you.
if
What
you
page
interrupt me again, I will pause these proceedings and have you removed from this chamber.
Okay.
You, sir, know the rules. On page 109 of our agenda, there is a synopsis of the Wellington ordinance. Council understands that, as they agreed.
You
No,
don't have to
sir,
go-
I am still...
You don't have to go through
Sir,
it.
interrupt me one more...
That's a newspaper article. That's
Sir,
not what I asked
sir.
you. I asked you for a copy of the ordinance.
Council, I'm going to ask that we adjourn
No, thank you. Don't
for
waste your
about 2
time.
minutes, please.
That's an order.
Can we open the meeting, please? Thank you very much. I'll now bring this meeting back to order. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak? Seeing none. Council, that moves us up to item 14, new business. Item 14A, contingent approval of O-18-02. Mr. Griffin.
Yes, sir. Now the council has approved ordinance O-1802. This is a follow-on to that. We would like to sign a vendor contract with Safe Build Florida to provide as-needed fire inspection and plan review services. As you know, O-1802 is intended for to establish a fire marshal, and also I would like to ask for approval from council. As a city manager, will be naming Wayne Esseltine, our building official, as the fire marshal for the city of Sebastian, and he will be overseeing Safe Build Florida in these fire plan review and inspection services. We are recommending approval.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of item 14A.
Thank you.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion from council on this? Hearing none.
I still have concern that we need to bring in, I don't know anything about this Safe Built Florida. I'd like to maybe know more about them, how long they've been in business. Is this, Mr. Griffith, the bid response form in the agenda, is this Orange County Fire Rescue? Is this a copy of the bid that they have with Orange County Fire Rescue?
That's correct.
Okay.
And we're using that as a piggyback.
Okay. They look like they're out of Loveland, Colorado, and I can tell you that building construction in Colorado is much different than it is in the state of Florida, but I still have concerns that we're not using a somebody that has a firefighter history. I think that that's a big issue. I'd like to also research Safe Built and see what makes them different than maybe other companies.
Representative from Safe Bill is here tonight, and he can answer those questions. I'd like to ask him to come forward.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Thank you for your professional efforts tonight. It's commendable. I'm Mark Ogles, principal for Safe Built. Safe Built is actually 3 companies. We're MT Cosley, we're Safe Built, and we're also now Calvin Giordano Engineering. We have 500 employees in Florida, 5 offices, and we represent 100 cities. The only reason Loveland, Colorado's down there is just a place that they do our legal documents. But we're really proud that all 3 of our companies serve Indian River County for their needs for plan review and supplemental services for inspections. And we've been doing this work as for fire for Fellsmere for several years, and for Orange County, and for a number of cities in Palm Beach County. Probably a list that would overwhelm you. The person that's going to do this has been doing it for years in this county, and he's really good.
Years as in how many years? 2 years, 5 years, 10?
MT Cosley, we've been doing it for 20 years.
Okay.
And Safe Built's been doing it for 7 years. So
The person that's actually going to be in this county, what kind of, and I don't know if this is the proper form to address his or her resume, but what background do they have in the fire industry?
Good,
Short of, they have, I know, obviously they have the building, the contractor side of it, but.
They've been in it for a number of years. The gentleman's name is Bob Dolan, and it was impressive enough that we actually are doing this work for the University of Central Florida and also for Orange County Fire Department. So we beat out competitors. Those were both competitively bid, so they were impressed enough with him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions or discussion by council? Does anyone from the public wish to comment on this issue? All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Mayor Hill?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kitchen?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Iavino?
No.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Leads us up to item B, under new business, resolution number R-18-06. Mr. Stokes?
A resolution of the City of Sebastian, Florida, listing building permit fee schedule pursuant to the City Code Section 26-35, amending contractor license fee pursuant to City Code Sections 26-166 and 26-168D, providing for penalties, plan checking fees, conflicts, and effective date.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of item 14B.
All right, thank you, sir. Do I have a second? I'll second that motion. Discussion from the public on this issue? Seeing none, council, is there any discussion on this? This is essentially relative to what we just did with the hiring of the firm on the last agenda item. Any questions? All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hill?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kitchen?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Iavino?
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 14C, approve single source request for purchase of 20 XL 185p portable radios from the Sebastian Police Department. Will Chief be handling this, or will you, sir?
Well, the chief is here, but, and I would like her to testify, so that'd be a good idea. Thank
Very
you, sir.
good. Chief Morris.
Good evening.
Do you want me to start?
Take it away, Chief.
Okay. This is the first step in our process of changing over the radio systems for the entire county. So what I've done is through our capital improvement plan, I started off with $57,000 this year, and then again for $50,000 next year, and continuing on until 2020, which is when the new radio system is supposed to be in full swing. So what we've tried to do is, where the city didn't have one great big $300,000 bill. So we would be purchasing 20 handheld radios, 2 of which will be going in the dispatch center. 18 will be replacing older radios that the officers have, and then again, we'll be doing that throughout the next 3 to 4 years.
Okay. Great. Council, what's your pleasure on item C?
Move approval.
Second.
A motion is second. Are there any questions for the chief?
Yeah, I think you answered my question when you said for the whole county.
The entire county.
These radios are going to be able to communicate between various agencies without any issues then?
Yes.
Okay.
They do now. This is a new program, the entire county, the Emergency Management District, and the whole county is going to this new program.
Yeah, because one of the things that seems to be a common theme in some of the problems that we've had is that they couldn't talk to each other.
Right.
You know,
And
but
don't ask me to get
this will
technical.
solve that here.
I don't know all the details. I
Yeah.
just know it's a new system. We kind of got to go to it.
Good, good.
Chief, isn't it something that's being required by the state as a whole?
That, I believe so, but I got to be honest with you, that is John's territory. He's been involved in all the meetings with
I gotcha.
emergency management. I do know that all of the law enforcement, all of the emergency managers in the county have to go to this.
Yeah, we're doing the same thing. with the sheriffs,
Otherwise,
too.
we're not going to be able to work.
Gotcha.
Great. Any more questions? Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Kitchen,
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd,
Yes.
Councilmember Iovino,
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin,
Yes.
Mayor Hill.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. That leads us up to item 15, City Attorney Matters. Mr. Stokes.
Yeah, so just one quick item. We are planning on closing tomorrow on the Sullivan property that you authorized the purchase of along the water. The only thing I wanted to bring up, and it's probably not anything you're going to see, but just in case you do, there was a lot of discussion when you authorized this sale about whether we were going to use a warranty deed or a statutory deed. And we have been round and round with that with the other side. I've done the research. I've even reached out to some learned city attorneys that are real estate experts that I know. And the fact of the matter is that designation does not have the import that's really all that necessary. This property is currently held in trust. We are going to see a trustee's deed that is a general warranty deed. We have full title insurance. We are fully protected on the title and the conveyance of this property. It's just you're not going to see something that's called a statutory deed, as was discussed at some length. So the manager and I talked. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. But other than that, I've gone through all the real estate documents, closing documents. The manager's ready to sign tomorrow, and the property will be ours. So.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions relative to that from council? All right, thank you. Mr. Griffin.
The statement I want to make on that is, once that's complete, I'll notify council probably by a phone call or something like that, and I will ask the chief to start increased patrols in that area and also instruct our facilities manager to do something about securing the building, things like that, making sure it is secure. And then at the March 28th meeting, I will supply some alternatives as to how the council might want to go forward with the disposition of the building and the property. So that'll be on my radar for the next couple weeks. Would like to emphasize something might have slipped here. I just want to make sure council understands that the ordinance that was approved tonight, the fire ordinance 0-18-02, that gives the city manager the authority to name the fire marshal for the city with council's approval. So I did emphasize that in the last agenda item that was actionable, but I did name Wayne Esseltine as the city's fire marshal. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Williams? All right, thank you. Councilmember McPartlin?
I just want to add, last night we had Castle's Memory Field dedication in the city park, and I just want to thank Joe Griffin and your staff. Bob did a fantastic job getting it set up, and also the ceremony last night. And thank you, Mayor, for reading the proclamation for the 126 children who died in 2017 from abuse and neglect. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Very sad. Thank you. I have nothing further. Vice Mayor Kinchin?
I have nothing tonight.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Dodd?
Well, I hate to bring this up, but I'm going to.
Of course.
There was a question posed in a internet news article on the Sebastian Daily about, does Sebastian need more parks or bars? And in reading the article, what concerned me about reading the article was the misrepresentations and lack of investigative journalism that was done in producing this article. There was an indication in here that somebody from South Florida is going to try to tell Sebastian how to do their parks, and that's absolutely not true. What Sebastian has done is retain the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council to produce a document for them based on input from the city of Sebastian that identifies the long-term plan for our park system. That document includes a complete inventory of the parks, the park equipment. It includes a definition of needs for the city in the future. It's going to be used by the city staff in planning parks. It's going to be used by the Parks and Recreation Committee in deciding where to spend funds on parks. I will tell you that the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council is not a dictatorial organization. The inference in here was that they were coming north and trying to tell the northerners what to do, and they're not doing that. I felt almost affronted by the fact that it listed the names of the participants, of which I'm one, almost like that was a derogatory name list in there, and it was kind of an affront to do that. It's a reputable organization. They provide reputable services to municipalities in their area, and I think they've done a really good job. I've read the report that they've done for Sebastian. I think they've done a really good job in producing that report. So I just wanted to bring that up. Last thing is, I'm not going to be here on the 28th for our meeting. I just want to let you know I'm asking for an excused absence on that meeting. I'm going to be playing with my grandchildren during that week, so.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Ivino?
You gotta get it right that time.
Huh?
You got it right that time.
See, I've been listening to Ms. Williams.
No, nothing from me, thank you.
Thank you very much. There being no further business, we are adjourned.